Right. Thank you, Open University. I didn't really write a book about Obama. I wrote a book about the United States corporate and empire, captive media-saturated dollar democracy, in what I knew by late 2006 to be the dawning age of Barack Obama. Is Obama a progressive? John says yes. I say no. But I wonder how much the question actually matters at the end of the day. Obama wasn't selected to head the local United Way or his and my favorite baseball team, the Chicago White Sox. He's chief executive of the American empire. He is a politician above all, one who was selected to sit atop and to, I think, rebrand what the left liberal political scientist Sheldon Wolin rightly calls democracy incorporated. Every 4 years, millions of Americans are induced to put their political hats on, to hope for a while, and then to go back to sleep. To hope that a savior, or at least a more effective manager, can be installed in the White House to raise wages, roll back militarism, provide universal health care, rebuild infrastructure, fix the environment, reduce inequality, and make life generally more livable for human beings. The savior can be named Jack, or Bobby, or Teddy, or Gene, or George, or Jimmy, or Bill, or Hillary, or John, or Adley, or Barack. It doesn't necessarily matter under the rules of what Wolin calls corporate managed democracy. Officially electable candidates who want a serious shot at lasting power subordinate themselves to what Ed Herman and David Peterson call the unelected dictatorship of money, which, quote, vets the nominees of both parties, reducing the options available to U.S. citizens to just 2 candidates, neither of whom can change the foreign or domestic priorities fundamental to the imperial regime. The Obama White House so far, I think, is a fairly chilling object lesson in the reach, power, and bipartisan nature of that unelected dictatorship. Obama is following what David Rothkopf, a former Clinton official, calls the violin model. You hold power with the left hand and you play the music with the right. In other words, you gain and hold the presidency with populist-pleasing, progressive-sounding rhetoric, but you govern, you make policy in standard service to existing dominant institutions. So, you lecture Wall Street on the immorality of their bonuses. You visit Elkhart, Indiana to show solidarity with downtrodden working people, and then you give yet more of the public treasury and commons away to the privileged few, justifying the handouts as a noble expression of your, quote, sensible, quote, realistic, and, quote, pragmatic commitment to rising above ideological divisions to, quote, get things done for the American people. Funny how our pragmatist in chief keeps getting things done, especially for the rich and the powerful. The mind and the soul go numb as yet one more populist, progressive, and peaceful-sounding campaign promise gets drowned in the icy waters of corporate and military rule. It must have been a sort of strange time for many of Obama's progressive fans, what with their peace president's blatant escalation of civilian slaughtering war in South Asia, indefinite continuation of the Iraq occupation, increase of the Pentagon budget, advanced dismissal of a peace dividend, advanced approval for an Israel attack on Iran, refusal to move in any serious way against Israel's occupation of Palestine, apparent commitment to building a provocative missile shield in Eastern Europe, embrace of NATO expansion, ambivalent, tepid response to the right-wing coup in Honduras, embrace of the war on drugs in Colombia and Mexico, and continuation of numerous key aspects of George W. Bush's counterterrorism program. Obama, Jeremy Scahill notes, is a brilliant supporter of empire who has figured out a way to trick people into believing they're supporting radical change. Scahill even says the president is an Orwellian character. He can make people think that war is peace. Then there's Obama's domestic agenda for and by the wealthy few. In the May 2009 Atlantic, Simon Johnson, former chief economist of the International Monetary Fund, not an economist with Z Magazine or Monthly Review or something, argued that Obama is in Wall Street's pocket. In an article titled "The Quiet Coup," Johnson noted that the Obama administration, like Bush, has taken extreme care not to upset the interests of the financial institutions or to question the basic outlines of the system that got us into a Great Recession, quote the elite business interests who played a central role in creating the crisis with the implicit backing of the government, using their influence to prevent precisely the reforms that are needed exactly as in a third world emerging market nation, Simon Johnson said. Obama, Noam Chomsky notes, made sure to staff his economic team with advisors from the financial sector. Goldman and Citi alumni, but by and large, Robert Rubin, Timothy Geithner, and so on and so forth. You know all about it. This helps explain Obama's willingness to expand the Bush policy of transferring trillions. My mind glazes over as I try and keep track of the dollar number. To financial parasites and perpetrators, and also helps explain Obama's unwillingness to displease the financial lobby with clearly indicated progressive measures like seriously restricting executive compensation, like reinstituting the Glass-Steagall separation of commercial and investment banking, unwilling to close regulatory exemptions on customized derivatives, or to ban the notorious credit default swap, or to break up, of course, the too big, and I always say, and too powerful to fail banking firms. As bailouts for oligarchs combined with growing destitution among the populace last March, liberal left journalist William Greiter put it well. He said, people everywhere have learned a blunt lesson about power. They have watched Washington run to rescue the very financial interests that caused the catastrophe, and they've learned that government has plenty of money to spend when the right people want it, but nothing or very little for the lower and working class majority. Even with Democrats in power, as official unemployment moves towards 10%, and actual unemployment is closer to the mid-teens. It is revealing that Obama's economic stimulus contained no reference to the urgently needed labor law reform he campaigned on, the Employee Free Choice Act, whose critical provisions have already been kicked to Washington's curb under business pressure. Zero protest from the president. Then there's Obama's health reform for and by the nation's leading insurance and drug companies, an unpopular private-public mishmash, all too consistent with the hundreds of millions of dollars Obama and other leading Blue Dog, Blue Cross Blue Shield Democrats like strategically placed Max Baucus have received from the health sector, finance, and insurance industries in the last 2 years. It's not for nothing that Obama's presidential campaign garnered a record-setting $39 million from FIRE, finance, insurance, and real estate industries, $10 million better than McCain, $44 million from the legal and lobbyist sector, $33 million better than McCain, $25 million from communications and electronics, $20 million better than McCain, and more than $19 million from the health sector, $12 million better than McCain. You don't have to be a Marxist to be concerned about Obama's service to economic royalty. 2 Sundays ago, liberal New York Times columnist Frank Rich, something of an Obama fan last year, wrote an editorial noting the absurdity of Republican claims that Obama is a socialist and saying that the real fear is that Obama might be just another corporatist. Punking voters, much as the Republicans do when they claim to be for the common guy. And I said, might be? Obama is advancing what the liberal novelist and political writer Kevin Baker calls a business liberalism that, quote, espouses a pragmatism that is not really pragmatism at all, just surrendering to the usual corporate interests. The left liberal senior black congressman, single-payer advocate John Conyers, recently described Obama's health care plan, and I quote, as crap. And nobody is more disappointed in Barack Obama than I am. That's not Jen Pilcher or me or Noam Chomsky or Glenn Ford, a Black Agenda Report. That's John Conyers, 30 years in the U.S. Congress. It's all very consistent with the campaign warnings of a liberal named John Edwards, who said, and I remember this because I was from Iowa and watched the caucus campaign very closely, he said repeatedly, and I heard him say it in person, that it was a complete fantasy to think that meaningful progressive reform could be achieved by sitting down at a big negotiating table with big corporations and Republicans. Only an epic fight with corporate power, Edwards said, could achieve such reform. Edwards said that at a debate in Des Moines, and Obama's response is what Mike Davis calls typical eloquent evasion. He said, we don't need more heat, we need more light. That's Goldman Sachs talking. That's not true progressivism talking. There's something of a liberal left Nation magazine, Katrina Vanden Heuvel, Laura Flanders, Huffington Post myth that all this surrender to corporate and financial power is contrary to Obama's deeper, genuine nature as a true left-leaning progressive.